I'm Mariana Hirsch, and I'm currently the director of the Center for the Critical Analysis of Social Difference. It's a fairly new center that we've started here a couple of years ago, or maybe 1 year ago. The website is here, and it's an interdisciplinary advanced studies center. Essentially works by projects, and you see our projects right here. That projects have working groups that meet regularly to share work. And our new project in common is these keywords, interdisciplinary keyword conversation, roundtable conversations. It's a new series that we started this year, inviting Columbia faculty to join in a conversation about keywords that are theoretical terms that we use in a vocabulary about social difference. And we've had a number of very interesting ones this year, and tonight's is actually not a word, but it's a prefix, post. We come up with these terms in our executive committee conversations, where we have a lot of fun trying to think of what key term should be debated. And so far, every single one that we've debated has been thrown out as useless. Ethnicity, intersectionality, labor, I guess, was not useless, but we found that there are many other things that we should put in place of it. So I'm wondering what will happen to post tonight. And I really am sorry, because my archive of T-shirts from my many years on the battlegrounds of the various fields of social difference are up in Vermont. So I couldn't find the T-shirt I wanted to wear tonight, which is "I'll be a post-feminist and post-patriarchy." Some of you may remember that. Important. I had a postcard on the door of my office for many years, and I also had the T-shirt. And I don't know if we're going to talk about post-feminism or post-patriarchy tonight, but I'm very interested in today's discussion for both professional and personal reasons. I'm just going to introduce our speakers very briefly, because Stathis Gourgouris will actually moderate the panel. It was his idea, so we have him to blame. But before I introduce everybody, I just want to announce two events. Two concurrent conferences that are taking place next weekend that are co-sponsored by our center. One is Toward an Intellectual History of Black Women, which is one of our projects, 28th and 29th. You can find it on our website, a two-day conference. And the other almost concurrent, but not totally overlapping, 29th and 30th, is a conference on the world of capital organized by the Institute for Comparative Literature and Society and co-sponsored by our center. And Stathis is one of the organizers, so you can ask him about it afterwards.
Blame me as well.
Hope to see you. Stathis is organizing lots of stuff right now. And it's a pleasure to welcome our speakers here tonight. Stathis Gourgouris is the director of the Institute for Comparative Literature and Society. He's also professors in the departments of classics and English and comparative literature. He works on modernism and modernity. He's the author of Dream Nation, Enlightenment, Colonization, and the Institution of Modern Greece. Also of Does Literature Think? Literature as Theory for an Anti-Mythical Era. He's the editor, most recently, of Freud and Fundamentalism, a book that just came out this last year. Just to say, he's a award-winning poet, essentially in Greek, I think. He's published 4 volumes of poetry in Greek, and he's now currently completing 2 projects on secular criticism, The Perils of the One and Nothing Sacred. And Stathis will be moderating the panel. Our second speaker will be Bruce Robbins of the Department of English and Comparative Literature, who works in 19th and 20th century fiction, literary and cultural theory, and postcolonial studies. He's the author of a number of books: Feeling Global, Internationalism and Distress, The Servant's Hand, English Fiction from Below, Secular Vocations, Intellectuals, Professionalism, and Culture, and most recently, Upward Mobility and the Common Good. He's also the editor of a number of different volumes. his works on intellectuals, and he's the recent winner of a Guggenheim Fellowship that just was announced, and we're really pleased. Alondra Nelson from the Sociology Department and the Institute for Research on Women and Gender, a new colleague we're so pleased to have. Her book, Body and Soul, The Black Panther Party and the Fight Against Medical Discrimination, is coming out from the University of Minnesota Press in early fall. She's an editor of a special issue of Social Text, Afrofuturism, and also of a volume, Technicolor, Race, Technology, and Everyday Life. And she's also edited a book that's in press, Genetics and the Unsettled Past, The Collision of DNA, Race, and History. And presently, she's at work on a book about genetic genealogy testing and the social life of DNA. She gave a very important talk at a conference we organized a couple of years ago on this very topic. And our fourth speaker is Rosalind Morris of the Department of Anthropology. She's also involved, everybody here has many different centers and institutes they're involved in. Ros Morris is very much involved in the Institute for Research on Women and Gender and also the Institute for Comparative Literature and Society. She, as an anthropologist, she works in two main areas, South Africa and mainland Southeast Asia, especially Thailand. And she's written about media, about modernity in Southeast Asia, and she is currently writing an ethnography of a mining community in South Africa, and also has done a number of collaborative projects with important artists like William Kentridge and Clive Vandenberg. She's the author of In the Place of Origins, Modernity and Its Mediums in Northern Thailand, and the editor of a very important volume, Photographies East, The Camera and Its Histories in East and Southeast Asia, and also of a volume on Gayatri Spivak's essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? Reflections on the History of an Idea. Her forthcoming book is Wars I Have Not Seen. And some of those pieces have already appeared and are great. So I'm turning this over to Stathis.
Thank you, Mariana. I will speak very briefly, less than 5 minutes, in order to just put together a bit of a framework, since I'm nominally the organizer, and it is really nominally because, though, it was an idea that I kind of blurted out thoughtlessly in the meeting. And the credit for organizing this really goes to Laura and to Mariana. As Mariana said, I had obviously the same thought. We had a series of keywords. This is not technical politics of the post, not technically speaking a keyword. It might be a key to words in some ways, a kind of a determinant of names, and it's a determinant and that operates under increasingly, and I'll talk about this in a minute, under an assumption of a certain kind of that this determination is in some ways shared, though not necessarily that these post conditions. I'm not even going to utter the names because they're so problematic to me. That they somehow they share a space. They're not quite equivalent, but similar in mode. So maybe we can speak about the post dash whatever as a certain kind of modality, and that might be one of the ways to look at it. Now, as I said, this is an assumption about even this sharing. If we can think, I'm thinking of sort of 2 points of differentiation. You may remember that when, for example, Frederick Jameson's book, Postmodernism or the Logical Late Capitalism came out, which I can't remember, I don't know, it was 83, something like that. That no matter what may have been, what may have been objections to the argument, there were not really any objections to the topic. And in a sense, already at that time, postmodernism was assumed to have a veritable existence, and certainly Jameson's work whatever its flaws might have been, was really a serious attempt to try to designate a space that might give some kind of significance to this notion that would make it separate from what it was supposed to be attached to, because that's the whole point of this term, that it attaches the name to the previous name that it supposedly exceeds. This is the contradiction that we're dealing with. Since that time, I think that we can speak of a certain historical development, because the name, the prefix post seems to be attached with great ease and perhaps not much thinking to all kinds of terms, without necessarily the work that would be needed to elucidate what makes these terms specifically different. When about a couple of weeks ago, I was in I was giving a talk in the seminar that Robert Young organizes at NYU on what is it called, postcoloniality and re-enlightenment, and it was in the course of my talk kind of grumbling about this problem, and then in the discussion he raised an issue about the fact that the postcolonial is a different